You know, it's not every day that I have the chance to introduce someone who needs no introduction because so many recognize the name. Allow me to welcome Ray Rickman to Roger Williams University. Ray Rickman is a native of Detroit and ended up in Providence because of his love for historic preservation. A lifelong civil rights activist, Ray has devoted 50 years of his life in the public, private, educational, and nonprofit sectors. In 1986, Ray was elected to the Rhode Island House of Representatives. During his political years, Ray championed social justice issues, mass incarceration, the rights of the Southeast immigrants, voting rights, LGBTQ+ rights, and also women's rights to choose. In 2000, Ray served as the Rhode Island's Deputy Secretary of State. It was the highest office ever held by an African American in Rhode Island. During the period of Ray's time, Ray was active in installing a bust of Elizabeth Botham Chase, at the State House, the first image of a Rhode Island woman in the building. Next, Ray focused on the wellness and founded Shape Up RI, a health program which transformed over 100,000 people. Not to be outdone, Ray founded Adopt a Doctor. That provided financial aid for doctors in some of Africa's poorest countries. These days, Ray is the executive director of Stages of Freedom. Among other items, Stages of Freedom offers swimming lessons to low-income, inner-city African-American children. Ray calls Stages of Freedom the cause of his life. The award-winning program aims to prevent drownings in the urban communities because a lot of kids are unable to swim. Books and education are a major part of Ray's life curriculum. Ray and co-founder Rob Dimmick operate Stages of Freedom Museum and the bookshop in downtown Providence. Their unique exhibits showcase African-American culture and history. We have one of their exhibits in the back today. Please join me in welcome Ray Rickman to the podium.
Thank you very much. I have given 2,500 talks. You believe that? If you're a mathematician, it's not a lot. Do it by the year. I'm in my 70s. I almost tore this speech up. I wanted to talk to you not about what you expect, but about positivity. And I'm going to do both. First, I never get this close to Mother's Day without saying to my mother, who's in heaven, Happy Mother's Day. And to every mother of children in this room, Happy Mother's Day. Now, the two speeches that came before me are closer to what you expect. And Sean, I'm very impressed with both of those speeches, very. Gertrude Stein, possibly the most famous lesbian in the world. She's in France, and her Jewish neighbors come by, 3 or 4 a day. When are you and Alice leaving? The government says they're not going to fight the Nazi army because Hitler said Paris is his favorite city in the world, and he does not wish to bomb it. Now, you watched him sweep across Europe, and the French know he'll sweep across France, and so the flag has gone up of surrender. Alice, make her leave. And Gertrude Stein said, I am the most famous Jewish person in all of France. I am the most famous lesbian in all of Europe. They will not kill me. Now just think about that in the 40s, and by the way, they did not kill her. The German general came to have tea with her the second day that he was there. Power and luck. Now, that's not how I lived my life. I was 69 years old, and on the stage of Trinity Rep, at the creation of at the Stages of Freedom, at our first really kind of public gathering, full house, there on the stage with Rose Weaver singing, I announced to the 380 people in the room, I'm gay. 69 years old before I did that in a public setting. Now, every other person knew. The Speaker of the House had hired detectives to research me so he could do me dirt on one of the women's bills. Everybody knew. Who knew? I wasn't hiding. It was a secret in plain sight. You know, like Langston Hughes. But when I was a kid, you could not be gay in the black community. The majority of gay men were turned out by their families. And when I was 7 years old at the Lily Bridge Baptist Church on a Sunday, the minister got up with his deep hatred of gay people and started attacking the choir master. And my mother got up and said to him in church, this is a black Baptist minister, you don't talk back. My mother stood up and said to him, stop that. I did not come to church to hear that. And he said, if you don't like it, get out. And my mother took her 5 children, and down the aisle we marched. Now, I've never really thought, was my mother against hatred, or was she pro-gay? I never asked her. I was meant to, but I didn't, because my aunts would say, when is Ray getting married? And my mother would say the same thing, he's happy. She never answered them. He's happy. And then I lived with a man. And the aunts came over, and I think they knew, but then they knew. Are you with me? It's been a rough road. And I tell young people today, and I'm not saying what you think I'm saying, I'm not, but I would have loved your life when I was 20. I see people kissing of the same sex in public. Oh my Lord, it is so wonderful. Now, the truth is 90% of the time they're women, and men are more chicken. And maybe correctly so. We're in the shadow of RISD. And on 2 or 3 occasions, I've told young men at RISD, you can be yourself on this campus and on the east side, but don't go 5 blocks that way. Seriously. Now, I used to be head of the Providence Human Relations Commission. And one of my biggest accomplishments, I've got dozens of them, okay? Shh. But my biggest, and I was telling someone this yesterday, every Monday morning, without fail, for 2.5 years, young gay males would come to see me and tell me the police had knocked them down, beat them up, slugged them on Saturday night coming out of a particular bar in downtown Providence. And there'd be 2 to 4 every whatever, because the ACLU would send them over to see me. And I would go personally to see the police chief, and he would tell me, they're exaggerating, they're lying, do they have badge numbers? And of course the cops would do that with the badge number. And without fail, I'd do it. And after a while, I went to see the mayor, Joseph Paolino, because generally this was his father's bar. No, his father wasn't gay. The father owned the building. He owned half of downtown Providence. Anyway, he owned the building where cops like to do this. And I went to see the mayor, and I said, I've been to see the police chief, I've done this, I've done that, and I'm a failure. I want you to bring the chief over and put a stop to it. He calls the police chief and says, get over here, I got to get Rickman out of my office. I want you to clear this up. And he comes over. Now, Joe Paolino's the youngest mayor in the history of Providence, and a little bit cool. So the police chief says, it's not true. Rickman exaggerates. I have 182 folders, cases. I said, this is a lot of exaggeration. I have 282 young gay men all coming out of their way. They live in Lincoln or Bristol, wherever they live, lying to me every Monday morning. The mayor turns to the police chief and says, whether it's true or not, I want it to stop. Mayors of Providence are all powerful. And that following Saturday and all the days since, it has not occurred. Do you hear that? We have power. We have to exercise it, and we don't. We're lightweight all of the time. I'd give you a political example, but I'm not going to because I love both U.S. senators. But we don't put the pressure on. We let ourselves get told how we're supposed to advance. I watch every effort, every campaign, whether it's gay rights or women's rights or whatever, and it's so narrow-focused, and we win or lose. The Rhode Island General Assembly likes to take up an issue 3 or 4 years, even if the answer is yes, to get the opposition lobby with money to help the Democratic Party or the legislators, and then they'll pass it. Are you with me? We could curtail that, but we get in the process and we go along stepping. Now, I don't think, I'm brave, and I've done a lot of stupid, brave things. Now, if I were Gertrude Stein, I would have taken the train and the boat because Hitler killed 6 million Jews. Hatred. And this nation was and is full of hatred. So don't go away saying I said something I didn't say. But you should see the progress since I was a 7-year-old kid at Lily Bridge Baptist Church. The progress is unbelievable. Just setting in a university setting, and universities are supposed to be ahead of everybody else. I'm not sure that's true, but just setting here would never have happened 20 years ago, and certainly not 40 years ago, and not when I was 20. Never. Now, the other thing, and this is a lot of my speech, I've come to talk about positivity, and I won't go in structurally. I put the speech semi-aside. But we're not a positive people. I hear people, it's almost sad. We should be cheering quite often. And this is a nation, I'm talking in general now, in which thank yous are seldom given. We just came in an hour plus ago, and the whole team said, I hate exaggeration. 6 or 7 of the young women on the team sitting at the door said, good morning. And I went like this. People saying good morning to you that you don't know. In America, you can't get someone to say good morning to you that you're 1 foot away from on the sidewalk. It's sad. Sad. And so one of the things I'd like to tell people is say thank you every chance you get and create the environment to do it. I go to maybe the worst Dunkin' donut place, Rob won't go in. In America, it's filthy. They took out all the furniture. You know, there's, and I go there 1-2 weeks, days because they open at 5, and I go to work at 6, and they're the only things open on those days. And I go in, and I come through the front door, and I started this November, last November. I know what year it is. Last November, I come in and I say, "Good morning." And for a whole month or two, they stare at me like, "Are you kidding?" And then I get whatever I'm getting, and I thank each of the 2 or 3 people. Thank you. And I know their names. And I thank them. They've changed. I come in. "Hi!" They do it first. I'm only an average tipper. So it's not that. I have created an environment in one of the worst business places in Providence. You have power. And when I go in there now, it's 1959. Anybody here old enough to remember when people spoke to strangers? Anybody here old enough to remember when you didn't have to pay your bill in the grocery store or gas station? You paid at the end of the month or whenever you got around to it, because 99.9% of us were generously honest people. That's gone. It's gone. And every time I give a speech, 2,500 of them, I don't leave without giving people something to do. I hate speeches. When people get up and they want to say something which is generally quite often, especially at graduation, over the top. And I don't. I want to say to you, see what you can do in daily life to enrich our environment, because it is not good. It is not good. And it used to be generally good and then bad. I'm black. Generally, really bad things could happen. I have a scar from here to there. The last 20 years, I have talked to God about not going bald. And do you know what? It's not vain. It's not vanity, and I'm not vain. I have a scar from marching in Mississippi where they cracked my skull. And the scar is going to show. Now that's my America. That's my America. But at the same time, a Roman Catholic nun came in the jail and saved my life, wrapped my head in towels and took me to the hospital and saved my life. She was the most unpopular person in Sunflower County because she did that all the time, and she was a Catholic nun. She'd get away with it. She could get away with it. Everybody in this room has power. And I only have another minute or two, so I'm going to tell you 2 quick stories, and they relate. At Brown University, I was the state rep, and I knew 100 students well. And rich white kids would come to me all the time and tell me about their racist uncle and their racist grandmother. And I would tell them how to lean back and lower their voice and say to their grandmother, "You shouldn't say that. You don't have to try to have a fist fight with her. But nobody has ever said to her, you should not say that. So it's a one-way conversation, her saying racist things and everyone else sitting there. Never, 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 never be in the room and let people do that. I don't care who it is. And if it's your mother or your father, lower your voice, lower your head, and say it. And I didn't say, you should not be calling President Obama that N-word. I didn't tell you to say that. I said, lower your head and say you shouldn't say that. That's all you have to do. And it will have more impact than you can imagine. And if we've been doing it for the last 100+ years, since women got the right to vote, we would be further ahead. And then finally, because I raise money all day long, I need $400,000 a year for our swim program, I tell everybody to be generous all the time. There once were 3 million, see, I'd like to know certain people's ages. There was once 3 million of us went out every fall for UNICEF with our little boxes. And that was the thing to do. And you went to as many doors as you could, and the boxes weren't very big. I thought they weren't very bright, because I could fill my box up on my street. But my mother would get 10, 12 boxes for the 3 of us, and we'd fill them all up. I learned philanthropy. And I tell people, every chance you get, give to breast cancer. Every chance you get. I'm broke. You're not broke. You're going into Starbucks spending $6 for a bad cup of coffee. You're not broke. Don't lie. Go to Dunkin', pay half price. Go to the gas station. No, I'm serious. Go to the gas station and get it for $1. That one on the road. And it's just as good. It's better than Starbucks. Anyway, do that and take that $1 or $2 and put them in a jar. And the very next time somebody asks you for a donation for, this is not political, for Elizabeth Warren or something, you got it. $40. I have to end because I could talk to you all day. Because, Sean, you're going to change the world. Now, I'm going to end on this note, and this is personal as you can get. And I don't think I've ever said this. And Anna, I've wanted to tell somebody this, because yesterday I found a note, and it made me cry. And I said, talk about it tomorrow. And so I'm going to share it with you. I created, along with Mr. Kumar, Dr. Kumar to you, we created Adopt the Doctor, Rajid and I. He's a Brown student, medical student, and we created this, and we paid the salaries of 7 medical doctors in West Africa for 8 years. And then I got someone to give them real money, and I said goodbye to them. And the reason I had to do that is because Adopt the Doctor and my 4 boards and my real job, 12, 14 hours a day. So away went Adopt the Doctor with a check. And nobody was upset. Now, they didn't know the check would only, even if they spent it the way we gave them money, it would only last 3 or 4 years. I knew it. But when you get a big check, you go, whoa, thank you, Ray, for what you've been doing. I get a phone call. It's from the French embassy in Mali, in Timbuktu. Phone call. And they say, are you available to talk to Dr. Tall? Dr. Tall is 4'11". And she's our only female doctor, and I'd never spoken to her in my life. We're still doing postcards then. And I said, absolutely. And they say she only speaks French. So, well, she speaks 4 languages, but she doesn't speak English. Do you speak French? I said, just pause, no, not really. And they get the interpreter. And it turns out the interpreter is a very important person. and they're interpreting what she said. And I saw this note yesterday, and I want to share it with you. And it's not Ray bragging about anything. It's Ray showing you what you could do. We produced only $110 a month for Dr. Tall. She worked for the government, and they paid her $100. Are you ready? Medical doctor, only making $100. She ran, I'll tell you this in a second. We took her from poverty to genteel poverty. That's what we called it. So she says, I needed to talk to you today. This is translation. She said, through the interpreter, something I will remember all the days of my life, Mr. Rickman. I thank you for the soon-to-be 11 years of support. I want you to know that at least 4,000 women with AIDS are alive today because I was able to stay in Africa and see 150 women a day, each day, 6 days a week, because of you and your positive gift, your extremely positive gift that permitted me to stay in Timbuktu. God bless you during all the rest of the days of your life for being such a positive person that I have never met. I got off the phone and I cried. Dr. Tall used to, when you came in her clinic, undress, undress, her assistant would say, and these women, nude. That's how she could give the exams. And a couple times I got notes, postcards saying, would you like photos? I said, no, 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 I believe you. This blessed, 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 blessed woman with a degree from Johns Hopkins could have practiced any place in the world. And this positive woman stayed home. And I went up and down the street and would raise a lousy $1,000 a month for these 7 doctors. You have enormous power. Do not do what most good people do. Talk about things, and tell people how good they are. Sometimes, but seldom doing good yourself. I repeat, take half the Starbucks money. God bless you all in your trip forward. Be as lavender as you want to be, and be careful. Thank you.